Remember, the key to success is working hard. For our country, we must have regard. Forget all your differences, let we start to build. And onward to progress we surely will. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come, let us work hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Come, my brother, come, my sister, and let us build Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique together. I want to welcome you to the Dynamic Hour. You know, every Sunday from 1 to 2, we deliberate, we converse, and we use radio and social media to connect, to reach one another. I want to start off by encouraging those on Facebook and YouTube. Please share the live. Sharing is caring. I want to applaud the government again for living up to that promise to address the minimum wage. Not just to address it, but to make the necessary adjustments. And what I will do is to tell you what the actual minimum wage will be for a group of workers or the different categories of workers, and what that would look like come January 2024. And we are not far away from January 2024. I think it's about 14 more days, and we will be saying goodbye to 2023. And 15 more days, we will be saying, not saying, but welcoming 2024. So the minimum wage order will come into effect January the 1st, 2024. All right. I want to tell you what the rates will be like for the different types of workers. Because, you know, the NDC stated during their campaign that they will adjust the minimum wage. And you have to understand what the minimum wage is. It's really the law for people who are working here. So if you are working in Grenada, the law says this is what you must be paid. The order says this is what you have to be paid for your hour or for your day. So while you might be getting more in some cases, right? Because somebody could decide to pay you more, and it becomes a norm that they're paying you this particular amount. But when you check the law says otherwise. The law says that you have to be paid less, or you could be paid less. Not have to be, but you could be paid less. So if a employer wants to, go by the letter of the law or go by what the minimum wage order says, then they can actually pay you that lesser amount. I hope you understand what I am trying to bring across here. So there might be people who, let's say a laborer. Let me look at the category here. Let's use a laborer or a carpenter, for example. So there might be a carpenter. Let's use a carpenter. So there might be a A-class carpenter. You might be collecting $140 or $150 from that employer, from that contractor, from that builder, 150. But the law, the labor, the minimum wage order says that they can pay you far less, right? But they're paying you 150, and that's all good. That's great. But if that employer, that contractor or builder decides, well, I will pay you based on what the minimum wage says, then you might get less, right? But the minimum wage also is saying they cannot pay you less than what is stated here. So I hope you understand. So the NNP did not adjust the minimum wage for the last 10 or so years. They never adjusted the minimum wage. They just left it just like that. So there was some employer or employers who are actually paying workers based on what the minimum wage says at the time, right? So you saw people in the Indian stores, the Syrian stores, clerical assistants, caregivers, and so on. They were paid a certain amount of money. And then we were saying, well, why are they paying them so little? But that is what the minimum wage actually said at the time, right? That is what is there in law for them to be paid. All right? So it's supposed to be reviewed. The minimum wage supposed to be reviewed every 3 years or so. You have to review it and make the necessary adjustments based on the rate of inflation and, the reality on the ground, right? So the NDC administration promised during the campaign to address and to adjust the minimum wage for different categories of workers, because by law, the employer could still pay these workers the required amount based on the minimum wage order. They could still pay them that, right? So NDC said, no, we want them to be paid more, and we will adjust the minimum wage to reflect that. So you cannot get less. So your employer cannot pay you less than what the minimum wage order says. They can pay you more, but they cannot pay you less. And that is how important the minimum wage order is, adjusting the minimum wage for our people. That's a very, very important thing, because there are people who are working, right? I'll give you a typical example. Let me look here. Let me look at maybe media workers, for example. There are media workers who are working for $2,000 a month, right? There are media workers right in Grenada who are working for $2,000 $2,000 a month, and there are those who are working for $1,500, and there are those who are working for $800 and $900 and $1,000. But the minimum wage now is saying you cannot pay them less than $375 per week. You can't pay them less than that. So you can pay them more, right? You can pay them $500 per week, but you cannot pay them less than $375 as an example. So another example, let's look at helpers, right? Or utility workers. They call them helpers or utility workers. The minimum wage now is saying you cannot pay them less than $1,400 a month. So the employer cannot pay them less than that per month. Let's look at construction, for example, the laborer or helper. So you have helper and you have a laborer on the construction site. So the helper, you cannot pay the helper less than $65 per day. You can't pay the helper less than $65 per day. You cannot pay the laborer less than $60 per day. A steel bender, for example, a C-class steel bender, you cannot pay that person less than $75 per day. A B-class steel bender, you cannot pay that person less than $90 per day. an A-class steel bender, you cannot pay that person less than $110 per day. I hope you understand. So the minimum wage says you can't pay that person under that, but you can pay them more. You could pay that, for example, the A-class steel bender, you can pay them $200 per day, $250 per day. You can pay them $300 per day. But you cannot pay them less. So it's like a safeguard. It's more or less protecting the worker to say that that worker will not get less than this amount per day. All right? So let's say a mason, what the what the minimum wage order is saying, you cannot pay a C-class mason less than $75 per day, but you can pay the person more, right? And what the order is saying, you cannot pay a person a B-class carpenter less than $100 per day, or an A-class carpenter less than $120 per day. But what I think could have been a nice thing is to do a comparison, right? And maybe that is what I need to do. What it was compared to what it will be. And maybe that's something I saw the Honorable Claudia Joseph there. She sent that to me. But I think what would be helpful is if I get what it was compared to what it will be. So maybe let me just try and see if I can get it. Let me just make a call. All right, because I think that would help us to understand what this thing means for a lot of the workers.
So much of things that we need to see about. Surely I do have to spell them out. Cause you know as well as I do, the only way is putting more effort and less play. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together. This also goes for every Trinbagonian who going to live in a foreign land. Now is the time to come home and do something, instead of staying out there and freezing. Because now, more than ever, we must show discipline, tolerance, and production to build a strong and better nation. I say that is the main foundation. So come let us go hand in hand, because this is our land. Come my brother, come my sister, and let us build a nation together.
Right. So thank you very much there, the Honorable Claudette Joseph. So she was able to get me that quite quickly. So, because it's important for you to understand, let's do the comparison. Because I think people need to understand what it was compared to what it will be. I think that's very, very, very important. All right. So let me start off with industrial workers. All right. Garment industry, industrial workers. Uh, Machine mechanics, cutters, machine operators, cleaners. So let me look here for that. So I'll tell you what it was. All right. Let me tell you what it was compared to what it will be. So the machine mechanics, what stands now, that person, based on the minimum wage as it is now, is entitled to, well, it cannot be paid less than $85 per day. All right. But what it will be come January, it will be $100. So they cannot pay them less than $100 per day. So you see the difference. That's $15 difference there. Cutters, what it used to be, it was $60 per day. So they couldn't pay, or they can't pay that person less than $60 per day. But come January, that person cannot be paid less than $85 per day. So that person could be paid far more. The employer could decide to pay that person, let's say $150 per day, right? But they cannot pay them less than $85 per day. The machine operators, that person before, the machine operators, based on what the law says, that person could not have been paid less than $45 per day. But come January, that person cannot be paid less than $70 per day. So that's an increase of 20, 25, 50, right? That's an increase of $25 for that particular area of work or that person. Cleaners, packers, what the minimum wage, right? The minimum wage payable to that person as it stands, meaning what was there, what is there, not what is there, it still stands, because come January it will change. That person cannot be paid less than $35 per day. But with the new minimum wage order, that person cannot be paid $60, under $60 per day. So before it was 35, nothing under $35, but come January, it will be nothing under 60. So that person can only receive 60 and above. So they could give them 70, 75. Because if you have a good worker, you would pay them more. All right? Then you have clerical workers, administrative assistants, cashiers, receptionists. All right? Let me look for that here. I think they added that category, Let me see here. Let me see that here. Right. So clerical assistants, cashiers, receptionists. Right. So I think they added that. Let me see here. Shop assistants, still vendors. Yeah, it's so important to make the comparison so you kind of see, you kind of understand what we're talking about here. All right. Caregivers, domestic workers, security guards, clerical workers. Right. So clerical workers now, what used to happen before, it was a kind of parish thing. So if you're a clerical worker, administrative assistant, a cashier, and so on, a receptionist, if you were in St. George, St. Andrew, Carriacou, you were entitled to $900 per month. So you would not receive, or you should not receive less than $900 per month. That is what stands. That is what is there now. So it was a kind of parish thing, and all other parishes, they could have paid you $700 per month. So St. George's, St. Andrew, Carriacou, $900 per month. But all the other parishes, St. David, St. John, St. Mark, $700 per month. So that's for the clerical workers, administrative assistants, cashiers, receptionists, right? That is what the law says. But come January, they cannot pay you less than $1,200 per month across the board, no matter what parish you come from, right? So there's a nice balancing act here. That's a really good thing. They're saying no matter what parish you come from, they cannot, no employer could pay you less than $1,200 per month. This is very, very important. Then you have the security guards, right? The security guards. Remember, when NDC came into power in 2008 to 2013, they changed the hourly rate for security officers from $4 an hour to $8. So remember that? Remember, NNP never adjusted the minimum wage. They never care about workers. They were never concerned about the well-being of workers and their wages. The NNP never changed that, never adjusted that, even if the law says that they had to every 3 years. When the NDC came into power in 2008, 2013, they adjusted the hourly wage for security officers. And that is why when I hear certain security officers opening their mouth or going behind NNP, I just laugh, I laugh because when NNP was in power for all the 20-something years, they kept security officers collecting $4 an hour. $4 an hour, security officers. So sometimes when some of them who claim that they're NNP supporters and so on, sometimes you have to throw it in their face, Sometimes you have to throw it back in their face to say, but wait. Under the NNP, you are receiving $4 an hour for all the many years. They never adjusted that for you. NDC came and they gave you 100% increase to $8 an hour. And now they're bringing it to $9.25. You have some security officers who saying, well, why they didn't bring it to $10? Well, let me tell you this. Under the NNP, you are getting $4. So be very, very grateful to the NDC, because it was only the NDC who adjusted this thing for you and bring you up to that amount, If the NNP was in power, you would have still be collecting $4 an hour. So that's very, very important. I remember confronting a security officer in River Road. I think that particular supermarket there. He was a bad NNP. And he started to, throw talk when I got into that supermarket some years ago. And there were quite a number of people in there. And I turned around and I said to him, thanks to the NDC, you collecting $8 an hour. If it was the same NNP that you big and bad for, you would be collecting $4 an hour, and you work in for the 10 hours or the 12 hours, and you're going home with $48. But because of NDC, you're going home with $96 for that shift, that 12-hour shift that you normally would do. Significant. But come January, they will be going home with far more, because $1.25 has been added to that $8. So almost $10. Right? So let's move to another category, domestic workers. So before, domestic workers used to receive $35 per day. All right? This daily rate shall be paid to a domestic worker who works for four or less days per week, $725 per month. All right? That is what the law says. That is what the minimum wage order says. That is what stands now. That is what is there now in place. Come January, domestic workers will receive $60 or more. So you cannot be paid less than $60 per month. Sorry, per day, not month. Correction, per day. So a person who comes and clean your place and mop and sweep and clean and da, the employer cannot pay that person less than $60 per day. But as it stands now, if they work today, if they work now, between now and the end of December, the employer could pay them $35 per day. They can't pay them less than $35. So I hope you understand how big this thing is, you know. If you really understand how big this thing is, you would appreciate more the NDC for what they are doing for the workers in this country. You know. This thing is big. And I hope you understand that the NDC is fulfilling their promise to you. And do not be ungrateful. They're fulfilling that promise they made to you and improving your wage or your wages. Let's move to another category. Let me see here. Workers in bakeries. All right. So sanitation workers, you know, garbage truck and cleaning the streets and so on and so forth. Sanitation workers. I'm looking here for it to see if it's there. Sanitation workers. What category they fall under here previously? I don't think it's they added that. So that's one that they added. Caregivers, domestic workers. All right, so they added that. Sanitation workers. So a sanitation worker cannot be paid less, all right, less than $108 per day. So a sanitation worker cannot be paid less than $108 per day. Early childhood worker, an early childhood worker cannot, come January, cannot be paid, all right, so $1,200 per month, effective January 21st, 2024, and 100. All right, so the early childhood workers, they cannot receive less than $1,200 per month, and then in 2025, they would be receiving as the minimum wage. The employer, can't pay them less than $1,400 come 2025. So for 2024, they cannot receive less than $1,200 per month, but they could receive more because if you have an early childhood worker who is performing well, you know, they could receive more. So there are early childhood workers who are working for good salaries, but what the minimum wage order says, this is what you cannot pay them under, right? So you can't pay them less than this amount, or else you'll be violating the law. Caregivers of elderly, including homes for the aged, elderly childhood workers, all right? So caregivers, based on the law, caregivers of elderly homes or homes who work in, you know, the home for the aged and so on, what stands now as law is $700 per month. That's what the law says. You can't get less than $700 per month. But come January the 1st, the caregivers, they cannot pay them less than $1,400 per month. So they double it. They can't pay them less than $1,400 per month. You know, the folks in the different homes for the aged and so on, or early childhood workers, they can't pay them that. Right? Good. So that's very important that you understand. In those in the homes and so on. Workers in bakeries. what it says here, workers in bakeries. The previous thing was, let me see here, bakeries. Saw it somewhere. All right, workers in bakeries. So, oven men, bakers, what it says here, the law now, they cannot pay them less than $240 per week. That's what the law says. They can't pay them under $240 per week. But come January, they can't pay them under $375. That's a significant increase, right? Pastry men and women, what it says here, they can't pay them, that's a law, as it stands now, under $240 per week. But come January, it would be $350. So they can't pay them under $350 per week come January the 1st. Rappers and packers, what the law says, what the law is at this point is $170 per week. So they can't pay them less than $170 per week. But come January the 1st, it would be, they can't pay them anything under $300 per week. That again is a significant increase. But that's important. So I hope people understand what is taking place here, Agriculture workers, what the law says as it stands now, right? You are entitled to $6.50 per hour as the agriculture workers. That's what the law says now, right? But come January the 1st, you will be entitled to nothing less than $60 per day. Agricultural workers, nothing less than $60 per day. So they could pay you $90, $80, $100, but you can't get anything less than $60 per day. Construction workers, you have C class, you have A class, B class, C class. All right? What the law says for carpenters, the A class carpenters, that's what the law says now. That's what's there now. $100 per day. So they can't pay you anything less than $100 per day for an A class carpenter. A B class carpenter, they can't pay you nothing less than $85 per day. And a C class carpenter, they can't pay you nothing less than $70 per day. That's what the law says. That's the law. That's what stands. That's what's there. But come January, a A-class carpenter, they cannot pay you less than $120 per day. A B-class carpenter, they cannot pay you less than $100 per day. A C-class carpenter, they cannot pay you less than $80 per day. Significant. But remember, folks, and I hope you get that straight, the minimum wage says they can't pay you less than this amount, but they can pay you more. So if you are already working for $150 and let's say, $160, that won't change. But the people who are working for less, then it will change for them. Immediately it will change come January the 1st. So I hope you understand. All right? That is what the minimum wage order is actually saying to you. And, there are different categories of workers. The NDC administration, they included, so you have masons, you have joiners. I mean, I won't go through everyone right now. All right? Just trying to give you. So the painters, for example, you have A-class painters, B-class painters, C-class painters, right? What the law says for the painters. So as it stands now, the law says the A-class, they can't pay you less than $85 per day. The B-class, they can't pay you less than $75 per day. The C-class, they cannot pay you less than $65 per day. But come January, the A-class painters, they can't pay you less than $120 per day. B-class, they can't pay you less than $100 per day. C-class, they can't pay you less than $75 per day. And then you have plumbers, you have electricians, you have steel benders, you have the laborers, the construction laborers and the helpers. Let me see what the law says here for them. laborers. Let me see. All right. Steel benders, plumbers, painters, joiners, masons. Right. So they included the laborers. The NDC administration included the laborers in the minimum wage order. So the laborers now, they can't pay you less than $60 per day. They can pay you more. They can pay you $70, $80, $90. They could pay you more. They could pay you $100 if you're a good laborer, a good helper, right? So don't get yourself confused. There are some people who will try to tie you up and confuse you, right? I know that for political expediency. So they will tell you, well, UNC, I'm paying you $100 as a laborer, but the NDC administration put out the minimum wage order, and look, you're entitled to $60, right? No, that's not the case, folks. The minimum wage is just the minimum. It's not talking about the maximum. They could pay you any amount above that, all right? So there are people, you see, it will impact people who are being paid under that amount. You're going to impact these people. They're going to see their wages increase. All right? So that's something that you need to bear in mind. That's very important. All right? Nice. So let me see here. Bus drivers and conductors. So bus drivers and conductors, the minimum wage. So what is there now in law? A bus driver cannot be paid less than $60 per day. That is what is in law. Come January 2024, a bus driver cannot be paid under $80 per day. So you see, it's so important that you understand. The minimum means they can't pay you anything under that. But they could pay you more. Some bus drivers are working for $120 a day. Some working for $100 a day. But hear this. The owner of the bus could decide, well, I'm not paying you that. I'm paying you what the law says. As it is now, it's nothing under 60. So they could pay you 60. And you cannot go before the court or in any mediation, arbitration, whatever you want to call it, Ministry of Labor, wherever. You can't go anywhere there and win because the law says this is what they can pay you. So what NDC is doing is making that better for you. So they can't pay you nothing less than $80 per day. So they could pay you more. They could pay you $100, $150 per day. But they can't pay you less than $80 per day. All right? Bus conductors now. What the law says, no. What the law is, no. Right? They cannot pay you less than $35 a day. That's what the law says, no. But come January 2024, it will be they can't pay you anything under $60 per day. All right? So I am saying all of this so you understand how significant this thing is. All right? Then you have media workers. They were never covered before. You have employees of call centers. Right? They can't pay you come January the 1st. They cannot pay you less than $8.50 per hour in the call centers. They could pay you more, but they can't pay you under that. A cook or a cook assistant. So a cook, they can't pay you less than $9.50 per hour as a cook. A cook assistant, they can't pay you less than $8.60 per hour come January the 1st. A bartender, they can't pay you less than $9.50 per hour. A bartender assistant, they can't pay you less than $8.60 per hour. They could pay you more. They could pay you $10 an hour. They could pay you $15 an hour, but they can't pay you less than that. All right? So that's important. The waiter, the waitress, they can't pay you less than $9.20 25 cents per hour. They can't pay you less than that. The waiter, the waitress, assistant, they can't pay you less than $8.50 per hour. They cannot come January the 1st, 2024. So I just hope that you understand how big this thing is. This is huge. This is significant. But the NNP refuse to adjust the minimum wage. All these years, NNP being in power, they never adjusted the minimum wage. So watch me. They will try to twist this thing. They will try to tell you all kind of stuff because you know they're good at that. But I'm saying to you, they should be the last. NNP should be the last to talk about minimum wage. They should shut them out and say nothing about it. Just as with the pension and gratuity. They should just shut them out and say nothing about it because you were there in power for 23 years and a half and not once did they adjust the minimum wage for the workers of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. So I hope you understand the magnitude, you know, how important this thing is to workers in this country. So if you're in a store, an Indian store, a Syrian store, they can't pay you less than $60, I think $60, is it? Less than $60 or so. They can't. So this is big. This is huge. But I hope you understand what the minimum wage speaks to. It is really saying the employer cannot pay you less than this amount, but you can get more. They could pay you far more. Nothing wrong with that. But they're safeguarding you because you know there are some people in this country who are working for very, very little. And the people are paying them based on what the minimum wage order says. And you can't win them, right? So they're adjusting that minimum wage to reflect that so people get better wages, better salaries. So instead of the people in the Indian store and Syrian store getting $700 a month, they will get $1,200 now or more, or $1,400 or so, you know, that kind of thing. So I am simply saying this is a big, big thing. And that is what the NNP needs to be talking about. Let's have a conversation about that. Let's talk about the minimum wage and why you didn't adjust it for the 20-something years you were in power. And it took, according to the Honorable Delma Thomas, these rookies, these inexperienced people, it took them to come and adjust the minimum wage, and come January, it will come into effect and people will be paid more. Right? It took them, the same inexperienced rookies, and, you know, it took them to come and pay the pension and the gratuity that you did not pay, that you refused to pay. In fact, you talk about a pregnant treasury. Well, how the treasury was so pregnant and you couldn't deliver for the pensioners of the country who are marching in the hot sun, according to the Honorable Delma Thomas, right? Without getting a pension and a gratuity. It took these rookies, these young people, to come and do that. So the NNP should be the last to talk about minimum wage, period, because they refuse to adjust the minimum wage for our people. This is a big thing. If you ask me, this is a big thing for Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And this is the NDC fulfilling their promise to you, the electorate. You can trust the NDC. You could trust the NDC when they tell you during a campaign, these are the things I will do. They're fulfilling it. And they're not even 2 years in there yet. They're not even there 2 years yet. So I am saying we need to, you know, song the trumpet about this. This is significant. This is big. And I want to commend the Honorable Claudette Joseph and her team and the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell for making this a reality. This is huge. I want to applaud them. I think they worked very hard consulting with the different stakeholders, with the Grenadian people. And we are at this point where come January the 1st, this order will come into effect. So I want to applaud them. I want to commend them. And, you know, many a times they don't get the praise that they deserve. So, for example, Claudia Joseph, right? She has been working extremely hard with her team for us to reach to this point. This is important for the working people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. And it shows that it's a government that cares about the people of the country, right? So I'm saying, and we need to, you know, I just like the line that the Honorable Delma Thomas used in the Parliament. It took these rookies, these inexperienced people, right? It took them to come and bring a bathroom and toilet and running water for our people. It took them to come and bring internet for people without internet in their homes. It took them for people who can't get water because they're renting and the landlord and want them to have water. So they can't have a toilet, they can't have nothing there, to pass laws to make sure that these people can get water. You understand the point? So all how the NNP beating the chest that they experience and they know to run country and they know to this and they know to look at who actually doing things and showing them how things are done. Just watch, just look. You don't need to look very far. There's so many things in recent times that this administration did, and they must be commended for it. But folks, I want to give you the opportunity to call in. If you want to, you can, to speak about this and what it means for you, what it means for your neighbors, what it means for your friends. We have 10 minutes remaining in the program. I want to say to you, you can actually call 415-4817, 415-4817, 415-4817, right? 415-4817. Nice. So you can call if you want to, you can. If you want to comment on this, you can. 415-4817. The women's arm of the NDC, they want to thank all the folks who came out at their dinner. They had a wonderful dinner and award ceremony last Friday, and they want to say thanks to all those who patronized, and congratulations to the awardees. Special thanks to the Most Honorable Deacon Mitchell and and all his cabinet colleagues and party officials who were there in attendance. So the NDC Women's Arm, they had a wonderful dinner and award ceremony last Friday, and they want to thank all the folks who came out, who supported, who sponsored, who, you know, and all the awardees. So Elizabeth, my good friend Elizabeth Forsyth there, thank you for sending that to me. All right. Nice. Okay. So if you want to call, you can. You know, you're free to do so. You're free to talk. You're free to chit chat, right? On it. But this is big. This is significant. And we need to call it what it is. The NNP refused to adjust the minimum wage for all these years. They refused to do it. It took the NDC within 15, 16, 17 months to get this thing going for our people. And we have to applaud it. So still have 9 minutes before I wrap up the program. If you want to call and chime in, you can. 415-4817, 415-4817. That's the number to call. Let's take that. All right. Oh boy. I actually accidentally cut that person off. So you can call back, caller. I accidentally cut you off there. You can call back. Sorry for that. I accidentally cut you off. All right. Maybe I can call you because I cut you off there. Let me take that call. Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon to Mr. Camden. So, Joe.
I'm fine, thanks. And you?
Well, just fine. Yeah, well, I want to applaud Miss Senator Tessa Senker. Had a wonderful Christmas dinner in the Bel Air Government School last week Sunday, and it have two people who are on the board there, Miss Arlene Mora, whatever, and Paul, and also Mr. Vaughan and Simon was late, but we still applaud her and we still welcome everybody. So I want to thank her for everything that she's, you know what I mean, give on her Christmas dinner at the Bel Air Government School.
All right. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, dear, my good friend. Thank you very much indeed. So again, the number 415-4817, and we just about 8 minutes left in the program. If you want to call, you can. 415-4817. That's the number to call to get on the inside. All right, so it's an open opportunity. If you want to call and chime in, you can. You're free to do so. 415-4817. So we will be talking some more about the minimum wage. We'll be doing the comparison. We will be doing that as we go through the week. I want to also say that gas price went down. And you know what's amazing? When gas price going up, you're hearing those NNP out there saying, whoa, you know, see how the gas price high and the gas price high and the gas price this. But when the gas price going down, you're hearing them, right? They're not talking about it. That is what baffles me sometimes, you know. It's like they only want the bad news. The good news, they're not interested in that. So the gas price went down. It's now, let me get it for you. It's now $15.80. All right, so it went down again. Let me take that call here. Good evening, good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Cam.
Hey, good afternoon. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, man.
Yes, man. Well, I was listening to them, you're relating the minimum wages, and I want to throw something to you right here. You know, a couple months ago, maybe a month or two ago, we declared released the housing, and they were saying that folks cannot get the housing because they're working for so much. They can pay for the housing. The poor people can get the housing for poor, and they cannot get it. But now, just imagine, Cam, both of you in the house, both of you want money or something else, and your wage went from 700 to 1,200. Each one now getting 1,200. So from 1,400 now, you will both be getting 2,400. How easily it is now to pay for the same housing they say you couldn't pay for. There was this plan they couldn't see. These folks couldn't see a plan. This plan of the NDC, the Deacon Mitchell, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell had in mind that this housing would be affordable for all because the wages wouldn't be the same. But all they're running in mud because they know they're keeping you poor without higher wages. So they always say no one could get these houses, these units. But no, look how affordable it is for anyone. After the minimum wage would go into effect in January 1st, anyone would afford to pay for a unit if they qualify and they get through with the government. Cam, it's a marvelous been done in Grenada. And next I want to raise to you, Cam. You know, I listen to NNP talk, and they've been attacking our great Jonathan Lacrette. But because Lacrette is giving Keith Mitchell a lot of blows in Northeast, they've been trying to put him down to say that he's no good because they see what's coming. The Keith is going down and Lacrette is going up. So they've been blasting him to show he's no good and ask him to resign because they see that Lacrette is making moves in Northeast. The place with the most people are trained in Grenada. Keith is there for almost 40 years and did nothing for his constituency. Man, it's a shame. Up we going, man. What the song says? Up and up and up. Cam, we're going up and up and up.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, there, caller.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, there. Zillian, you and Zoe, please, outside. Outside. Just close outside. Right. Right. So again, nice. Again, the number is 415-4817. 415-4817. That's the number to call to get on the inside. We still have about 4 minutes left in the program. 4 minutes left in the program. And the caller is absolutely right. You know, the NDC is different. The NDC is about people, caring about people. They want good for you, the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. Some people just can't see that because they're blinded. They are blinded supporters of a party. So they're supporting a party or they're supporting a man. But yeah, look at the improvement. Look at the betterment that's coming for our people. Again, the number is 415-4817. 415-4817. We still have about 3 minutes left in the program. If you want to chime in, you can. Looking at the minimum wage. And look, we're just starting the conversation. During the week, we will dive deeper into it. So I was saying to you that the gas price went down. When the gas price going up, you hear the NNP brain. is what they're saying. But the price gone down and going down. You ain't hearing them come out and say, well, it's good, man. It's good for the motorists and it's good for the people because the price is going down. It's a good Christmas gift. Nah, boy. They only want the bad news. They only want the punks on the bad news. They're not getting plenty bad news. So they become irrelevant. All right? But again, the number 415-4817, if you want to call, you can, free up. It's more about telling you what's going down with the minimum wage, because I believe it's an important thing that you know that things will be adjusted for you. You'll be getting something better come January 2024. And remember, it was a consultative process. So they consulted, they engaged employers, they engaged the employees, they engaged the Grenadian people, all the different stakeholders. And they concluded this is what will work in going forward. All right? Very nice. But folks, I want to wish you all the best. Have a nice Sunday afternoon. I will be back with you tomorrow, God's willing, starting from 8 a.m. And we have so many things to talk about. But I tell you, I look at some of the projects and some of the initiatives that some of the ministers are doing. It's just so much, right? And I want to really commend them for showcasing it. And the PR has improved significantly, right? The PR has improved significantly. So have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Take care and bye.